Chapter 206 A Calm Before the Storm. It's obvious. Fang Hao, you shouldn't be calm after hearing these words. Why are you so composed? Zhou stared at Fang Hao's face, noticing that his expression remained unchanged. Normally, a man hearing about his wife's affair should be angry and indignant, especially when the lover provides money and arranges a secure job for the wife. In such a situation, anger should be accompanied by a sense of inferiority. I've long passed that stage. Fang Hao felt somewhat immune. Recently, he found that he could stay calm in the face of significant events. He continued, Mom, you know I'm a country bumpkin, a soft-hearted person. What's the use of getting angry and indignant? Can it change reality? No, it can't. So, accept it, and then let's get a divorce. Calm before the storm. Zhou suddenly recalled this phrase, a piece of wisdom passed down by her long-deceased grandmother. It advised her to choose a man who remains calm in the face of challenges. Back then, she hadn't found such a man and ended up with the charismatic Su Buiyuan. She remained composed and replied, It's good if you can think like that. I'm afraid you can't handle going out and causing a ruckus. Going out and causing a ruckus? That would only drag himself down. Fang Hao asked, Mom, how did you suspect someone behind Jiolong? Zhou looked proud and said, Do you really think I only delve into the intricacies of mathematics? There are things I ignore, but it doesn't mean I don't understand. Do you want me to teach you a few tricks? Fang Hao was momentarily surprised and then said, You really only know math. Dad called me just now, and I didn't understand initially. It turns out you told him about me and Xiao. Mom, I'll handle things with Xiao, so don't worry. Xiao is in the midst of pregnancy, with significant emotional fluctuations. She hasn't figured out how good divorce would be for her yet. Once she does, she'll agree to the divorce. In other words, after some time, Suro could go for a paternity test for the baby in her belly. If it turns out the child isn't Fang Hao's, she would naturally agree to the divorce. Zhou, on the other hand, thought Suro might be moved and ultimately choose to give up Fang Hao. She said, Fang Hao, are you really this magnanimous? You won't take any money and choose to leave with just the clothes on your back. Why would I need money? Did I marry Xiao for her wealth? I didn't marry her for money back then, and I won't do it now. So, it's Xiao who has let you down. Mom, nobody owes anybody. I accept reality. Zhou hesitated, feeling that Fang Hao, such a smart and capable man, remaining so calm after discovering his wife's affair, was extraordinary. After some thought, she realized Fang Hao came from the countryside, had no background, and causing a scene would be even more detrimental to him. Choosing a peaceful separation at this moment was a wise move. However, the taste of it was hard to bear. She gave a light snort, using fatigue as an excuse, and went back to rest. Fang Hao also went to stop the two little ones from playing and began applying shower gel to wash up quickly. Turning around, he entered the master bedroom and saw his wife blow-drying their daughter Jiejia's hair. A beautiful and peaceful scene. Suro, if you hadn't had an affair, even if you didn't love me, we could have lived as a family. How wonderful would that be? Unfortunately, you did have an affair. After listening to his mother-in-law's words, any guilt Fang Hao had about urging his wife to resign disappeared. Instead, he felt more repulsed because his wife claimed to be working outside but spent time with her lover, who happened to be her boss. Even the company belonged to her lover. If that's the case, his wife going to work wasn't about earning money but just being with her lover. Otherwise, with her intelligence, Suro could have made more wealth when accompanying relatives in business, given her family background. Fang Hao told his daughter to sleep early and headed to the study. A multiple-birth pregnant woman's reduction procedure failed in the evening, resulting in one fetus turning into a mass of flesh. This unusual situation inspired him to write a paper. After half an hour, Suro came in, holding a hot drink for Fang Hao, and said, I'll be reading nearby, will it bother you? If I say it will you leave? Probably not, unless you come and kiss me. Suro lifted her small face in a coquettish manner, tapping her cheek with her hand, hinting for Fang Hao to kiss her. Nokis. Fang Hao ignored her and immersed himself in studying foreign literature. In English? Suro pouted, feeling that Fang Hao was not as interesting as before. Previously, a slight gesture would make him attentive, like a dog seeing its owner holding a bone. However, now he seemed less respectful. Since the last time Fang Hao was rude to her after drinking, Suro noticed a decline in his respect. Initially, this lack of respect triggered his masculine instincts and satisfied her concealed desires. Later on, letting Fang Hao take the lead became a pattern, and she found she could climax every time. Unfortunately, this eventually led to divorce. Now, she felt Fang Hao was like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment. Let's ease the tension. He'll be obedient and return to how he used to be. Su-ro comforted herself, seeing Fang Hao delving into foreign literature that was too professional for her to understand. She picked up a light novel, sat aside, and quietly read. During this time, a call came in. It was a gynecologist from the maternity ward asking for data on the pregnant women and addressing some concerns from their families. The doctor consulted Fang Hao. Fang Hao answered each question, teaching the doctor how to interpret the data and identify abnormalities. After hanging up, Su-ro grumbled, "Husband, you're a bit too much. When I call you, you either don't answer or respond in a few words, indifferent. Yet, for these calls, even if you're impatient, you still answer and provide solutions. You're biased." Fang Hao frowned and said, "Are you trying to pick a fight?" "No, but what I said is true." "True?" "The truth is, you betrayed me, and I want a divorce. But you stubbornly refuse to admit it. If you agree to divorce me, and you call me, I'll answer all your questions. Otherwise, try it. Forget it. I won't fall for that. Husband, I'm tired. I'll go lie down for a while. Oh, the tap in the living room bathroom is broken. If you need to shower, use the one in the bedroom." Su-ro gave Fang Hao a glare, thinking, even if we divorce, will you still answer my calls? Divorce is irreversible, I will never agree to it. I intentionally broke the tap in the living room bathroom. I'll wait for you to come to the bedroom, and then I'll show you what I'm capable of. It's all a game plan. Chapter 207, Resorting to this strategy. The next day, Fang Hao arrived at his father-in-law's villa and was greeted by the furious old man. "Fang Hao, look at the time. I asked you to come early, and you're an hour late. Don't give me the excuse of traffic, I checked, and the route from your place to here was clear all the way." Su Buiyuan extended his hand, pointing accusingly at his golden Rolex watch on his wrist, reprimanding Fang Hao for not keeping his word. Fang Hao, helpless, had stayed up late last night studying materials and finishing his paper, finally getting up at the break of dawn after 2 alarm clock interruptions. His mother-in-law had informed him to visit his father-in-law in the morning. Fang Hao agreed and went to take a shower, but his wife followed, lecturing him with her eloquent tongue. This delay cost him another half an hour. He didn't explain but said, "Dad, why did you ask me to come? If there's nothing, I need to go to the hospital. Today is the weekend, and there will be a lot of patients. Besides, we have a new leader coming next week, and the department needs to be ready for the handover." Seeing Fang Hao's impatience and the absence of the previous reverence, Su Buiyuan, in a cold tone, asked, "What? You and Xiao are taking your divorce to court. Do you not care about me anymore?" Fang Hao responded, "Oh, you know about my divorce proceedings. Are you blaming me for it? Do you think it's my fault?" "No, it's not my fault. It's Su-ro, she found someone better, she doesn't want me, she doesn't want that home. But she refuses to admit it and won't agree to sign the divorce papers. What can I do? I have to file for divorce." Unable to contain himself, he continued, "I know you never respected me, always thinking I came from the countryside and marrying Su-ro was like a toad eating a swan, that I ruined Su-ro's happiness. But let me tell you, in these 4 years, I haven't treated Su-ro unfairly. Apart from not having money, I've given her everything I could. Besides money, I believe I gave her happiness. If money equals happiness, then she isn't lacking in happiness. Moreover, in these 4 years, I haven't asked you to do anything for me. When I was confirmed at the Provincial People's Hospital, maybe you pulled some strings, and I got confirmed. But if not for your connections, Yang Wenjin wouldn't have suppressed me for 4 years, not giving me prescription authority, making me do odd jobs in the inpatient department for 4 years. Did I say anything to offend you back then?" Su Buiyuan was momentarily stunned. This sudden outburst from Fang Hao made him feel somewhat unfamiliar. The lines he had prepared to point fingers at his son-in-law seemed ineffective now. Fang Hao continued, "Recently, you've tried more than once to have Yang Wenjin dismiss me, to make me leave the Provincial People's Hospital. Even now, your younger sister in the City Health Bureau is thinking of transferring me to some grassroots position. I come from the countryside, have a medical degree, and you want me to be a government clerk? Because I didn't obey, I disrespect you now?" Su Buiyuan hadn't expected Fang Hao to strike first with 3 heavy blows. He felt a bit at a loss. However, he cleared his throat and said, "Fang Hao, there are things you don't understand, so don't speak recklessly. I called you here today not to discuss these matters. What I mean is, you and Xiao should sit down and talk. Let's have a peaceful divorce. If you need money, we can provide some subsidy. Why must you drag this to court? Divorce is not a glorious matter. After the divorce, both of you have to continue living. If you make it big, won't people laugh at you? But Suro refuses. I can only resort to this strategy. Why doesn't she agree? I don't know. Otherwise, find some time to talk to her. I've already drafted the divorce agreement. As long as she agrees, we can go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and settle it directly. This way, you can live your life, and I can live mine. Let's not interfere with each other. Well, you can go to work first. I'll talk to Shero. Su Buiyuan realized that this conversation with Fang Hao had given the latter the upper hand. He felt uncomfortable with this sudden shift in dynamics. He waved his hand, signaling Fang Hao to leave, and then called Su Ro, asking her to come over for a talk. However, Su Ro had a premonition about what her father wanted to discuss and didn't agree to come immediately. She mentioned that she planned to take the children out for outdoor activities during the weekend and suggested discussing it later in the day. In the office, Lu Yu said to Fang Hao, "In 2 days, I will finish my reemployment work here." While flipping through the medical records brought by the maternity patient, Fang Hao casually commented, "Director, maybe I only have 2 days left. Without your support here, I'll be nothing." "Nonsense, your expertise in obstetrics and gynecology is the strongest. You have a place to stand, and you won't be overlooked. Besides, this might be a new beginning. Let's see how you'll be arranged after Luo Shuozhuan arrives, and then we can discuss further. I won't let you stay idle." "Okay, I'll follow your lead, Director." Fang Hao already understood Lu Yu's implications. When she's free, she will introduce patients like Han Yan to him, allowing him to gain additional income. This also hinted that he shouldn't compete with Luo Shuozhuan for extensive responsibilities. Let her handle the major workload. Fang Hao went to the ward, checked on the maternity patient, and found the situation stable. He also noticed the patient's husband, who turned out to be a sloppily dressed rural man with saliva dripping from the corners of his mouth. Oh no. Fang Hao didn't know what to say, and the thought of his wife's suspected lover, Zhang Lingtian, also being a man in his 50s or 60s sent a shiver down his spine. He instructed the ward's attending doctor and nurse to pay extra attention to the maternity patient's blood volume index, then went to the outpatient department. At this moment, Li Rongzi approached with a notebook. She said, "Director Fang, could you please sign here? A patient wants to transfer to another hospital, and without your consent, she can't leave." Fang Hao glanced at it. It was the middle-aged woman who had a heart attack a few days ago. He was surprised and asked, "The surgery was just a few days ago. Why does she want to transfer so soon, to a private hospital? Although she is Director Luo's patient, it wouldn't hurt to let me know the reason. At the other hospital, she can receive better treatment and communicate more effectively with the patient's family. Prepare a disclaimer, stating that any issues after her departure from the gynecology department are not my responsibility. Director Fang, it doesn't have to be so troublesome, just sign here." "Oh, Dr. Li, you need to understand that I'm still in charge of the obstetrics and gynecology department. Director Luo won't be here until Monday. At that time, you won't need to bother me." "Alright, I'll prepare the disclaimer." Li Rongzi had no choice but to comply. Fang Hao's phone rang, and he saw that it was a call from Zhou Yun. He was very surprised, and even more so after answering, as Zhou Yun was already in the hospital parking lot. "You came quite quickly. It caught me by surprise. But I was just about to find you. I asked Su Ro to resign, and you asked Su Ro to take a leave without pay, and compensated her with 500,000. What do you mean?" Chapter 208, Immediate Relief. Fang Hao left the inpatient area and returned to his office. He said to Lu Yu, "Chairman Zhou Yun of Jiangdong Group is coming shortly. I promised to examine her, and I'll have her come to the office. What's your impression of her?" "Jiangdong Group?" This group was quite famous a couple of years ago, successfully navigating a risky venture. However, it has been quiet in recent years, fading from the public eye. Chairman Zhou Yun is known for making money and was once a prominent figure in Jiangdong City. I don't know her well, so I can't provide an evaluation. How did you get involved with her? My wife, Su Ro, works as the chief financial officer in her company. She came to me for treatment of migraines, and I agreed to give her an examination without any assurance. That's fine. Migraines are a common ailment for women around her age. If you can treat it, I'd like to see it for myself. If it works well, you can treat me sometime. Lu Yu discovered a new world full of anticipation. Soon after, Zhou Yun, dressed in casual attire, approached. She had light makeup, exuded elegance, intelligence, and a dignified aura. After exchanging greetings with Lu Yu, she directly addressed Fang Hao, "Director Fang, please hurry and find a solution. This morning, when I woke up, the pain was severe, making me vomit several times. If I hadn't called Su Ro and learned that you were already at the hospital, I would have gone to your house to find you." She pinched her right temple with her hand, her eyebrows twitching. "Let me check your pulse first." Fang Hao asked Zoyun to sit down and then examined her pulse. "Director Fang, this seems to be traditional Chinese medicine. I didn't expect you, being so young, to also know Chinese medicine. I have a basic understanding." Without saying much, Fang Hao quickly identified the key points during the pulse examination. "Oh, it's happening again. It hurts so much. Director Fang, prescribe me some painkillers first to relieve the pain." Zoyun suddenly felt her scalp being torn, a throbbing pain deep into her bone marrow. She felt like scratching her scalp. "Don't panic." Fang Hao took out silver needles and quickly inserted them into acupuncture points on Zoyun's head. Immediate relief. "Hey, it doesn't hurt anymore. Am I cured?" Xiaoyun exclaimed in surprise. Lu Yu was also amazed. She experienced some level of migraines herself, and if Fang Hao could treat it, she wanted to give it a try. If it proved effective, she could recommend it to her friends. Fang Hao said, "Migraines are a common ailment. Currently, we haven't fully understood the mechanism. Some people experience it due to hormonal imbalances, stress, changes in daily routine, etc. Everyone's body is different, so the causes vary. Yeah, they say medical technology is advanced, but so far, many ailments cannot be cured." "That's true. Now, why am I not in pain anymore? Is it cured?" "This is due to the acupuncture I provided. If I remove the needles now, the pain may return." "What should I do? I can't keep these needles on my head forever, right?" "No, you won't. After a few acupuncture sessions, you'll experience relief for some time." "For some time?" "Some people find relief for 3 to 5 years, some for over 10 years, and for some, the ailment never returns. It depends on the individual. If you can relax and reduce stress, without making any promises, I'm confident you won't suffer from headaches for 3 to 5 years." "That works. How many sessions of acupuncture?" 3. This is the first one. The next session will be 1 week from now. In a week, I'll go to your house to check on Su Ro, and you can help me with acupuncture as well." "Sure." Fang Hao didn't say much, he focused on treating the illness. Acupuncture session completed, Zoyun got up to move around and found that the pain was indeed gone. She was overjoyed, and the more she looked at Fang Hao, the happier she became. She initially wanted to invite Fang Hao for coffee to continue their conversation, but Fang Hao declined, citing ongoing consultations. Zoyun suggested arranging another time. After getting into her car, Zoyun called Su Ro directly, saying, "Xiao Ro, I discovered that your husband is truly a hidden gem. He performed acupuncture on me, and my migraine disappeared. It's unbelievable without experiencing it firsthand, he's amazing." Su Ro, astonished, asked, "You actually went to see my husband for treatment? Do you think I'm joking with you? Your husband is thoughtful. He treated me first, and next week, I'll visit your home for the second acupuncture session." On the other end, Su Ro, driving, hung up Zoyun's call, feeling a mist passing through her mind. She reassured herself, "Don't overthink, Su Ro. Your husband won't find out." Meanwhile, Fang Hao, in the midst of consultations, unexpectedly received a call from an unknown number. After rejecting it once, the caller persisted, so he answered, only to find it was Tang Wan. She mentioned feeling some itching around her wound and wanted Fang Hao to check. Tang Wan didn't want to visit the gynecology department. Instead, she invited Fang Hao to her house for lunch. Fang Hao agreed, thinking that Tang Wan, being involved in construction, might provide some information about Jiolong. In the morning, with many patients, Fang Hao didn't take on too many cases. However, in the afternoon, he didn't schedule any consultations. At noon, Tang Chi came to pick up Fang Hao. Seeing Tang Chi wearing sunglasses, Fang Hao noticed signs of bruising and asked, "Were you also involved in a fight?" "Yeah, it was careless of me. The night before, a guy got drunk in the nightclub, and I tried to help him out. Instead, he didn't show any sportsmanship and hit me like this. It's a national treasure now, consider me unlucky." Tang Chi didn't hide the truth. "I assume you won't let that guy off easily." Tang Chi raised 2 fingers, saying, "I gave him a pair of panda eyes. Hee hee." Oh, by the way, Bro Hao, my grandpa mentioned that the hospital is undergoing major changes. Almost all departments are getting new leadership. Will you be transferred to another department? Fang Hao was surprised. If there were changes in every department, the hospital director must have significant influence, making it unlikely for Lu Jing's bid to be successful. However, with Lu Jing's background and qualifications, she should still secure a position. Fang Hao said, I haven't heard about any changes for me, but the new leader for gynecology has been decided. They will take over from Monday. Do you know who the new hospital director is, given your grandpa's well-informed network? My grandpa doesn't know who it is. He said someone significant is likely to be parachuted in. Hey, Bro Hao, do you know what parachuted means? Like coming in on a helicopter for the appointment? Oh, parachuted, it's almost the same as what you said, meaning someone with significant authority and weight. Fang Hao smirked. As the car passed by a construction site, Tang Qi said, Bro Hao, look outside. This construction site is my sister's project. She said she would gift you a house, and you can choose freely. Fang Hao turned his head, and his pupils suddenly contracted because the advertisement displayed on the construction site prominently featured Jiangdong Group. Tangwan got Jiangdong Group's project, and she wants to give me a house. I found the right person to inquire about Jiangdong Group. It seems I've hit the jackpot. Suro, you deceitful woman. Chapter 209, Indeed as Expected. The place where Tangwan lived was also a standalone villa, but it had a very ordinary style, unlike the top-notch villas at Tianjifeng. There was only surface-level construction here. However, outside the villa, 2 female bodyguards were present, dressed in black strapless tight-fitting tops, casual suits, with wireless earpieces. They conducted a security check on Fang Hao and inspected his personal medical kit before allowing him to enter. Bro Hao, don't worry. My sister will explain everything to you. I'll go about my business first. Tang Qi excused himself and left. Fang Hao entered the villa and found another young woman inside. Sharp gaze, well-defined figure, dressed similarly to the 2 female bodyguards outside. Clearly, she was also a bodyguard. As soon as he entered, this woman stared at him. With bodyguards both inside and outside, it was indeed a place for people of significance. It would be better to avoid dealing with these people in the future. Fang Hao thought to himself, maintaining a composed demeanor as he looked at Tangwan. Dr. Fang, I'm sorry, I can't show myself. Otherwise, I would have personally picked you up. Tangwan, wearing loose home clothes, had been standing in front of the living room, showing an apologetic and sincere expression. Miss Tang, you're too polite. It's the weekend, and I happen to have some free time, Fang Hao thought, seeing her posture, that even if he didn't come, she would insist on inviting him. She seemed like a significant connection, but one he couldn't afford to embrace given the dark elements involved. He said, let me check your wound first. Sure, let's go to the bedroom. Tangwan walked towards the bedroom, and the female bodyguard next to her stood up, intending to enter as well. Aching, you don't need to come in. Dr. Fang is very safe. Tangwan gestured to the female bodyguard, who then sat back down. In the room, Tangwan took off her clothes, lay on the bed, and let Fang Hao examine her. With her body laid bare, she felt a bit embarrassed, but Fang Hao remained calm, with a steady gaze, unaffected by any temptation. She said, Dr. Fang, I fell for you at first sight. But now, it seems I'm not attractive to you. Is it because you've seen too much in the gynecology department? Well, Fang Hao paused. Only then did he glance at the body in front of him. He had to admit, it was a figure that a beautiful woman should have. However, he had no desire whatsoever. Why? Because his wife was the #1 beauty in Jiangdong City, and her figure was flawless. After looking at it for 4 years, he was naturally immune to the temptation of beautiful women. Tangwan was beautiful, but compared to Suro, there was still a gap. Also, in the morning, Suro had worked hard with her eloquence. At the moment, Fang Hao found himself in a sage-like state without urgent desires. After a moment, he said, Miss Tang, you're joking. In your current state, even if I had thoughts, I wouldn't act on them. In that case, I feel a bit better. It means that in your eyes, I'm not just a patient, at least, I'm also a woman. Tangwan chuckled, her face slightly blushing. She said, you're handsome. If I hadn't encountered that scumbag, and you weren't married, I would have pursued you. And even if I tied you to the bed, I would make you mine. Seeing Fang Hao pause, she continued, will this scare you? Don't worry, you're the lifesaver of my mother and son. I won't do anything to harm you. I just want you to understand my personality more. I'm a straightforward person, so you can be more direct with me in the future. Understood. You're a female tycoon, a powerful woman. If your man can't control you, you'll make him your grandson. But if your man knows your personality and still seeks other women, the courage to be a scumbag is awe-inspiring. Fang Hao nodded, continued the examination, and said, the wounds on your chest and back have some issues. You probably encountered alcohol, triggering an outbreak. I'll prescribe an ointment for you, and you should arrange for someone to buy it. Apply it, and don't let the wounds touch water for the next 3 days. This is crucial, otherwise, you may have to go to the hospital for recutting and restitching. The abdominal incision is fine and healing well. Alcohol? After I was discharged, I held a small banquet for the child. I accidentally spilled some during the toast. I'll be more careful in the future. Tang Wan explained. Still toasting with alcohol? You just returned from the gates of hell and aren't following the doctor's advice. You're not afraid of death. Fang Hao wanted to say more but held back. After clearing the traces of the wound on Tang Wan, he went out to check on the child. Then came dinner. Tang Wan had a confinement meal, while Fang Hao had a Western meal, top-quality imported steak and red wine, a quite sumptuous affair. After dinner, they had tea. Tang Wan said, aren't you curious why I was pierced through the chest and back by rebar on the construction site? Fang Hao replied, to be honest, I have no idea. Our gynecology department is incredibly busy, and we can't pay attention to other matters. Besides, I'm just an ordinary doctor. Sometimes it's better to mind one's own business. So, if you tell me, there's not much I can do to help. There's a saying, those who eat people's mouths are short. You really lack social skills. Miss Tang, I'm just being honest. Well, you're just a doctor. Apart from being handsome and skilled in medicine, you're quite ordinary. I encountered a traffic accident, but I've already investigated. Someone intentionally planned to frame me. Once I recover, I'll make that person pay. Is it a man or a woman? A woman. Looking to climb the ranks? Fang Hao, you're quite smart. If you leave the hospital and venture with me, you can quickly build a career. No, Miss Tang, you overestimate me. Besides a bit of medical skill, I don't know anything else. I just knew you would respond with the saying, while I am not yet dead, I am not yet old. Miss Tang, that's not how the saying goes. You just altered it, right? That's not important, as long as the meaning is there. Fang Hao, my younger brother mentioned to you that I want to repay you by giving you a house. You've seen the location, it's a prime area. In the next 10 years, there will be supermarkets, hospitals, schools, etc., in that area. Tang Wan slowly walked to the side table, brought a document, and handed it to Fang Hao. She said, it's roughly like this. Fang Hao took a look. It was the floor plan, along with promotional images of the furnished unit, very beautiful and spacious, notably a large flat of over 300 square meters. The location was also on the golden floor of the building. This property was worth 5 to 6 million. He hurriedly said, Miss Tang, this is too much, too valuable. You saved my mother and son, what's a mere house? I, Tang Wan, believe in repaying kindness and avenging grievances. Whoever is kind to me, I must repay them generously. In the future, I might even rely on you to save my life. Alright, I'll keep it for you. When you want it back, I'll return it to you. Seeing the development company on the brochure was Jiangdong, he asked, Miss Tang, isn't your company Jiangdong? No, Jiangdong is the owner of this real estate. I'm the next level contractor, like what people call a subcontractor, or more appropriately, a subcontractor lady. Is the CEO of Jiangdong, Zoyun? I saw her for a medical checkup before coming here, for a minor headache. Oh, you know Zoyun too? Not really acquainted, just a normal doctor-patient relationship. Judging by her demeanor, she's not as impressive as Miss Tang. How could she be the CEO of Jiangdong? I heard she made a tremendous business deal 2 years ago. Is that true? 2 years ago? The business at the South City Park? That wasn't her doing, she doesn't have that much capability. Hey, that's a confidential matter. Even if it wasn't for my grandfather telling me, I wouldn't know there's a real big shot behind that business deal, Zhang Jiolong. Zhang Jiolong? Zhang Lingtian? Both surnamed Zhang. Fang Hao's mind buzzed suddenly, as if he had figured something out. Indeed, as expected. Chapter 210, The Breakthrough Lies with the Mother-in-Law. Fang Hao began to recall his wife's normal routine of going to work, which, in reality, was in the territory of her lover. His wife received incredibly intimate care from her lover, who even sent some provocative clothing for her to wear, playing more exciting games. Sending those things to the company, were they meant to be played with in the office? That office likely bore the traces of their pleasure. Disgusting. He needed to find a way to obtain Zhang Lingtian's DNA as soon as possible and compare it with Jie Jie's to confirm if he was indeed his wife's lover. However, Zhang Lingtian's social circle was too high for Fang Hao to reach. He couldn't leak any information, or Zhang Lingtian would become suspicious, making it even more difficult for Fang Hao to locate him and seek revenge. How could he get close to Zhang Lingtian? At the moment, Fang Hao couldn't think of a good solution. Distracted by these thoughts, he couldn't focus on Tang Wan talking about her business history, the hardships of entrepreneurship, and more. When the time was right, he excused himself. Tang Qi came to pick him up and drove him back to the hospital. He said, "My sister is still in danger because an enemy hired a powerful assassin. I didn't mention it earlier because I was afraid it would weigh on your mind." I still prefer to believe in the people's police," Fang Hao casually said. Obviously, he didn't want to know about the grievances and grudges among these social individuals, let alone get involved. He was just an ordinary doctor. His wife was having an affair, his daughter wasn't biologically his, and his job wasn't stable. After the divorce, he had to figure out how to settle and establish himself in Jiangdong City. These were enough troubles for him, he didn't want to worry about other people's affairs. People like Han Yan, Su Jia, Qiao Yiheng, and even Tang Wan, who could offer substantial consultation fees, were a small minority. These patients only thought of his value when they were in urgent need. Normally, they wouldn't care about a small character like him. His interaction with these people was only because of his medical skills. He considered them as part of his professional network, but he was being naive. What belongs to others is theirs to give, you can't ask for it openly. Otherwise, no matter how much you gain, you'll eventually have to give it back. In the afternoon, he didn't see patients but instead organized the documents on his hands. He also searched online for information about Xing Jiulong. He found only one university professor who matched the description, and he was nearly 90 years old. The old professor from the civil engineering department at Jiangdong City University? He re-examined the reports on Jiulong Group's acquisition of South City Park 2 years ago. It was indeed a big move. The person behind it thoroughly understood the policies, exploited the loopholes, and was undoubtedly a talent. Zhang Lingtian? The person who excelled in everything, including music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, should be capable of such operations, right? How could he investigate someone at that level? Feeling powerless, even if he knew who the person was, the difference in status was too vast. Except for medical skills, he had limited abilities. He couldn't investigate. However, as he thought about it when leaving work, he came up with a breakthrough: his mother-in-law. His wife's old lover should be on the same level as his mother-in-law. Even if they weren't in the same circle, there should be some connection. He couldn't directly contact them, but his mother-in-law could easily reach them. Moreover, his mother-in-law seemed to care about his wife's old lover. She also wanted to know who the man outside of her daughter's marriage was. His mother-in-law felt that when her daughter chose Fang Hao, they didn't scrutinize it in time, leading to an inappropriate match, ultimately causing the impending divorce. Now, at the juncture of her daughter's second marriage, they would definitely scrutinize it more closely. Perhaps, as a mother, she had a selfish motive, to find her daughter's new love interest before the divorce was final. She could compare the new love interest with the current one. If the new one wasn't as good as the current one, she wouldn't support it, allowing her daughter to continue with the current relationship. It just so happened that his mother-in-law called, asking him to pick someone up from Jiangdong University. At the main entrance of Jiangdong University's main building, Fang Hao saw his mother-in-law and father-in-law. "Dad, Mom, are we going straight home now?" Fang Hao greeted. Su Buiyuan, still in a bad mood from Fang Hao's rebuke in the morning, was unpleasant. However, he couldn't deny that Fang Hao was an adult who hadn't relied on the resources of the Su family but had established a bit of a reputation through his own medical skills. The last time he secured the formal position at the hospital, Fang Hao and Yang Wenjin sorted it out with just one phone call. They didn't make any deals with Yang Wenjin, which meant they didn't use any resources. His mother-in-law said, "Fang Hao, I've discussed it with your father in detail. We believe in your judgment. Xiaoro has received care outside, and she has made a new choice." Fang Hao gave a self-assured smile, then replied calmly, "But Xiaoro doesn't admit it, and I don't know who that man is or what he does. She's kept it a tight secret from me, and there's little I can do about it." Mother-in-law said, "We've also been kept in the dark. But since Xiaoro has chosen him, sooner or later, she'll bring him in front of us." Fang Hao said, not necessarily. She might be flying multiple flags, a red one at home and colorful ones outside, leading a richer and more colorful life. Ridiculous. The Su family is also a prominent household. How can we allow such a shameful thing to exist? Shuboyuan rebuked. He couldn't permit his daughter to be on 2 boats. I don't allow it either. So, I proposed a divorce. She disagreed, so I filed a lawsuit, Fang Hao retorted. Su Buiyuan responded, I oppose your filing a lawsuit. You didn't consider us and made such a hasty decision. Marriage is not a trivial matter, both marriage and divorce require parental consent. I'm not pressing you with my status, Dad. I'm forced into this. If it weren't for considering the face of our elders and Xiaorou's pregnancy, I would have divorced her long ago. In our rural areas, a wife involved in adultery would be dunked in a pig cage. Fang Hao, this is a civilized society, a society governed by law. We must not resort to force or illegal actions. No matter what, Xiaorou is still my daughter. So I didn't resort to violence. I opted for a peaceful solution, an amicable divorce, Fang Hao explained. Mother-in-law rubbed her temples and asked, Fang Hao, what have you found? Perhaps you could share some information. I've certainly found something, and I have concrete evidence. However, I can't show it to you because I still want to maintain some dignity. After some thought, Fang Hao continued, over these 4 years, I've often worked night shifts, and both Xiaorou and you have supported that. Sometimes, she leaves the kids with the neighbor, citing overtime, but instead, she goes out to meet that man. Sometimes, she even lets him come to our house. Though the kids have limited memories, children speak the truth. They've mentioned that Xiaorou spends a long time talking to that uncle in the room. Additionally, there's my intuition. Living with Xiaorou, there are still some small details that make me feel her heart isn't with me. For instance, she doesn't let me see her WeChat, claiming it's company confidential. Of course, she won't allow me to see her private content either. She thinks I don't know she has 2 SIM cards and 2 WeChat accounts. I've discovered all of this, she's keeping things from me. Where there's smoke, there's fire. After giving birth to twins, with a leisurely job and a high salary, she indeed started to play around. If that person is from her workplace, there might be a way. Looking at her husband, mother-in-law said, you select some male employees from Julong Construction Group or some clients, get their photos, and I'll have Tian and Jia identify them. Alright, I'm up for it. Fang Hao felt a twinge in his heart, took a deep breath. The inevitable had to happen.